Welcome back to the Red Path. Today we're going to do a quick video and talk about 3 little tips for combat with the World Eaters. Welcome back everybody. So as you've obviously guessed by the video title, we're going to do a quick video here with 3 tips for combat. That includes the charge phase and the fight phase proper, and I'm going to kind of demonstrate them here on Tabletop Simulator because it's just a little easier for me to do it that way than setting up a table and getting the lighting right and everything else. So we are going to go through these 3 things. I'm going to make it fairly quick so you can just get the content you need and get on with your day. So the first thing we're going to talk about is charge distance. Now I've alluded to this in several other videos, and I was going to make a proper example using the table, but I figured I could just include it in here. So obviously we're going to look at this example right here. So we've got a squad of 5 berserkers and we're just going into a squad of cultists here. We know we're going to win this combat fairly easily, and for the purposes of this example, the berserkers here are just all equipped with chainsword and chain axe, not that it really matters. So what we would do, we can see here we are 2.6 inches away, so we've got a guaranteed charge, but you should always roll your dice, and I will demonstrate why. But I would like to get something kind of nice here. A 7 will absolutely do it. It's not an 8, but we'll take it. So this happened to me in a game. Okay, so what you would imagine here is, because you can see we are equidistant more or less between these 2 objectives, so the center of the board, or the board quadrants, are along this line. Let's say it's the end of the game, the points are tied, this is the last fight phase, and you've taken engage on all fronts. You've got units in 3 quadrants, over here, and over here, and over here, and let's imagine there's another unit over here as well. But as you're tied, or let's say the opponent is actually 2 points ahead, what you can do is you can move your 7. Now, the charge rule itself reads, it's a little bit different from 8th edition, but it's the same effect. So the target of this charge does not need to be visible to the charging unit, which we know. You then make a charge roll for your unit by rolling 2d6, which I've done, and rolled a 7. This is the maximum number of inches each model in the unit can now be moved if they can make the charge move. I.e., was it a successful charge? Yes, it was, because we needed a 2 and we got a 7. To make a charge move, the unit's charge roll must be sufficient that it is able to end that move in coherency, which we will, and within engagement range of every enemy unit that was the target of its charge, without moving for engagement range of non-targets. So this was our only target, and we succeeded. So what we would then do is, typically, we would just move to be within an inch, do our combat, kill them, and you could consolidate, spend a CP, consolidate 6 inches, and get wholly in this board quarter and score the points. However, let's if this was a tougher unit, or you were quite depleted and you weren't sure you would actually get to kill them all and stuff like that, what you could instead do, if we just move back to our original position where we're about 2.5 inches away, yep, that'll do. So we rolled a 7, so we'll take the first model here and we'll move him just about 7. Yep, he's engaged. Then these models here can move 7 in any way they want. We'll just go there, and then these 2 are going to come about here. So they've moved 6.5, so we can actually move this guy another ½ inch or so. So, okay, so we've moved our 7 inches. As you can see, we swung all the way around here, putting us almost wholly within. I can't actually bring up the quadrants at the moment, but that would probably be wholly within, so we've already scored the points. You could also then use the pile in, and you have to end closer to the closest enemy model, which is this model here. So we would just pile in. So let me demonstrate that. So we're currently 1.6, so we have to end 1.5 away, so easily. So we would just use that to get as tucked in as we could, and then we would most likely delete these guys. They're just cultists. And that would be it. That would give us the extra point we was asking for, and potentially win us the game. So just remember, always use that charge move. You just have to obey the requirements of the charge, which is to move no more than what you rolled, plus any modifiers you may have, to end in coherency, and not to move through engagement range of units you didn't charge, and to end engaged or within engagement range to the targets. And we did that, and we used that 7 inches movement to the best of our ability and potentially scored some extra points for engaging all fronts. So the next thing I want to talk about is heroic interventions. Now, this one, heroic intervention is one of those kind of rules that people often forget. It's just like a sub phase of the charge phase, and it's not as good in 9th as it was in 8th, because if you heroically intervene into a unit that has charged, you instantly make yourself a target for that unit, which, if you're moving a character, they're probably going to want to kill that character. But just so you're 100% aware, you do not actually have to use the full 3 inches of the heroic intervention to move. So what you can do is essentially the same as any other combat kind of move. You just have to move closer to the nearest enemy model, and it's generally 3 inches, although with Battle Lust we can get that to be 6 inches, and the Master of Executions can do a 6-inch heroic intervention against characters. But the wording of the rule is when a unit performs a heroic intervention, you can move each model in that unit up to 3 inches. This is a heroic intervention move. Each model in the unit must finish its heroic intervention, move closer to the closest enemy model, and you have to remain in coherency. So here we see Khorne, and he is 2.7 inches away from this closest aspiring champion. But look, there's a objective here which would be nice to capture. If we get on there, that could give us an extra 5, 10, maybe even give us the 15 points we need on our turn, because remember, you can only heroically intervene in your opponent's turn. So again, we are 2.7 inches away, which means we are eligible to heroically intervene. So what we could do is just pop him right there. And now we're 1.5 inches closer, so we have completed our heroic intervention and captured this objective. And because this unit didn't charge us, maybe they failed the charge or they thought better of charging Khorne, they just gave us an objective. So that's the second tip, just something that occasionally crops up, gives you a little bit of free movement and doesn't necessarily force you to put your character in harm's way, whilst I wouldn't necessarily be scared in combat, certainly with a character like Khorne, of our Noise Marines. Some of our softer targets, maybe like an Exalted Champion or something, could go down quite easily to this squad. So the third and final tip I've got for you, this one's a little bit more complicated, but I've actually used Emperor's Children specifically for this, and also this badass map, which was made by Brady for us. Just makes me think of Scalathrax, quite frankly. So I had to make sure I included Khorne and the Emperor's Children. So this tip is about the Stratagem counteroffensive. Obviously, we're very familiar with it because it's a great stratagem for us to use, and also one we have to be very careful about making sure our opponent doesn't get great opportunities to use it. So let me just go over a little bit of context here. The yellow symbols here indicate units that have charged. So this is my turn. My Berserkers over here and my Leviathan Dreadnought have charged a Lord of Slaanesh, or a Chaos Lord, and a Terminator Lord. There is a sustained combat going on over here with the depleted squad of Red Berserkers and a squad of Noise Marines. Now, the Emperor's Children, if you didn't know, have the ability to fight first, or strike first, as it basically is now. So both of the Lords and the Noise Marines are all prioritised in combat. However, because I charged, I will get the very first combat. So in this situation, looking at my units available here, I have 2 charging units, so I have to pick one of them. The Leviathan Dreadnought, I'm not too frightened of dying to the Terminator. I'm pretty sure the Terminator will chip some wounds off him, but I don't think he's going to die. However, a Chaos Lord could probably completely destroy my Berserkers, if not take 3 or 4 of them out very easily. So I'm obviously going to use the Berserkers first and most likely kill that Lord. However, because the Emperor's Children have fights first, they would now be eligible to select a unit to fight with. So if I was the average opponent playing as the Emperor's Children, I know in my head, okay, because of the way fight order works in 9th edition, Once I've fought with my Terminator Lord, then my opponent, the World Eater's Leviathan Dreadnought, has charged and is therefore a priority unit, will then fight back. Then it will revert to the opponent's turn, which will be the Emperor's Children, and his Sonic Blaster or his Noise Marines will get to wipe out these Berserkers. So your opponent is almost certainly likely to choose their Terminator Lord and chip off 3 or 4 wounds, maybe a little bit more, off of your Leviathan Dreadnought. They would then expect that they can move, once you've fought back with your Dreadnought, move straight into their Noise Marines. Well, here's the thing. Counteroffensive is worded thus. For 2 CP, use this stratagem after an enemy unit has fought in this turn. Select one of your own eligible units and fight with it next. It does not say in your opponent's turn. Very rarely is this a stratagem you consider using in your own turn, but with the prevalence of things that make you fight last or your opponent fight first or anything like that, and especially when you are a combat reliant army like the World Eaters, we have to know how every rule works down to the minute detail. So again, this stratagem can be used in your turn and your opponent's turn, and because of order of precedence and the prevalence of things like fights first and fights last and all that stuff, we need to learn how to use this stratagem more effectively. So in this situation, the Terminator Lord fights, as his it is right to do because he's eligible, and then after an enemy unit has fought, in my own turn, I am then going to spend 2 CP and make my Berserkers fight, because then these Berserkers are almost certain, well, yes, they will wipe these out, those guys are gone. Then my Leviathan, he fights back and probably kills the Terminator. So where in a normal order of operations, the expected casualties would be, let's bring everyone back. So it's almost certain, no matter who I pick out of these 2 units, that one of these characters is dying. And because the Lord is the biggest threat, I'm going to kill that. He would fight back, scratch the paintwork on the Leviathan, then it would revert to the Emperor's Children turn and wipe my Berserkers. And that would be it. He would, then hold this objective completely. There's things that could be done. And whilst I ended up probably better in that situation, with my, tactical charges there, he didn't fare too bad. He wiped a squad of Berserkers and took an objective. And on his turn, which it will be next, he can do things like this Lord will easily be able to, pull back. Noise Marines are then going to clear off these guys. The Lord would probably come around here, contest this. Noise Marines shoot the Berserkers. He's holding one and contesting this one, puts himself in a nice swing. But that simple act of using the counter-offensive stratagem to remove those Noise Marines from play, as you are absolutely allowed to do, gives me this, and suddenly the Emperor's Children player is thoroughly outnumbered, and I can just keep him locked in with the Leviathan. In fact, the Leviathan would probably kill the Lord as well. So with 2 CP, completely destroy that flank and take ownership of that part of the battlefield, and that could be a game changer. Just by destabilizing the enemy's expected order of operations in your own turn by using the counter-offensive stratagem as it's written, and I very much believe as it's intended. It's just we have very rarely had the need or opportunity to use it on our own turn. Okay, so that's going to wrap it up for here. I've talked a little bit longer than I probably should, but I just wanted to make sure I got all the details out there. So just remember, your heroic interventions do not need to end within engagement range, as long as you end closer, and that's going to be 0.1 inches closer. Useful for tackling an objective or doing whatever you need to do. Remember to use the full length of your charge, as long as it's, going to be advantageous for you. Getting into a better position for the follow-up turn, or moving yourself closer to another enemy model, so when you wipe your target, your consolidates and pile-ins and all that business go where you want them to go. If you're going to perform a wrap and trap or use 1 CP to get a 6-inch consolidate. And absolutely remember that you can use counter-offensive in your own turn to essentially promote a unit of yours that was in sustained combat up to being a charging or strikes first unit. Okay, hope that helps you out, and just want to say thank you to everyone for watching, for subscribing, liking, all the regular business. Yeah, you're a great bunch. and thanks for watching. Till next time, stay healthy, stay safe, and kill main bad.